Hey friends, welcome back. Now let's do a little bit of cleaning regarding our Power BI time intelligence DAX measures which we have created. For instance, you can see that for our cumulative sales or running total sales, depending on how you want to call it, we have the cumulative sum, that's fine. But we got this issue that after our last month of sales, we still have this repeating pattern, right? This might be something we don't want. The same behavior we experience with the time intelligence, right? Because here also, if we have total sales last year, for instance, in here, that's totally fine. But maybe after our last sales month, we don't want to see the data here anymore. Instead, we want to have this blank. So this could be use cases you have. So let's dive into that and what can we do about that. Let's maybe start with the cumulative sales. So let's have a look at our formula one more time. Go in here. And you see that we basically calculate some measure regarding this new filter context we have specified here. Now, the most easiest way to get rid of those repeating patterns here, if there is no value for the total sales, is simply to check that with, for instance, an if condition. So you're probably all familiar with if expressions from Excel, for instance, and the same is true for Power BI. So I can say, beside the formula we already have, we can wrap this actually. We can say if, and we use a normal if function here, if, and then we need to specify the logical test, and then we specify the result if true and the result if false. So we could say, in this case, if not, we use the not function, and then we use is blank. And then our measure, our value here is the total sales. Here we go, this one. So like that, and else we will specify here a blank, like that. I can close this here, and of course I need to close the not is blank here. So close that parenthesis here, and then we are good to go. So that's our modified formula. And it's quite easy to understand because we simply check with the isBlank function. The isBlank function simply checks the measure and takes a look whether the measure is blank. And here you can see for all these months after our last sales month, the measure itself, which is total sales, is blank, right? And we say if it is not blank, only then we would like to see the cumulative sum, which is this part. And if not, don't show anything. And don't show anything can be simply achieved with blank. That's it. So quite easy to understand, I guess. And if we modify it like that and we execute it, I press enter, then you'll see that now it ends in March 2022. And you can see that you can't scroll down any further. So our last sales month where we have sales, which is March 2022, is also the latest month for the running total. So that's one way how we can get rid of those repeating patterns. Also, here again, you can see that for measures, like for instance, total sales, it doesn't matter whether I'm referring to the table itself and then the measure, which is currently possible in Power BI, as well as if I only refer to the measure itself. So this total sales here is the same as measures table total sales, the first part. And I can show you this because I can also get rid of that. If I would remove this here, I have the same expression here and I can evaluate it and I get exactly the same result. So it doesn't matter which way you prefer, but by default, if I choose the measure the first time, then the measures table here is also part of the expression itself. And the same is true actually for the time intelligence. So also here, if I take a look, for instance, at our, let's do it for the total sales last year, we can do exactly the same. So again, if we don't want to see these values in here, because we want to end the values here in April, we can easily do this. So we could say total sales last year, take a look at that. Total sales last year, here's our measure. And we can also wrap this in an if condition. So I can say if, and then I check simply not, and then parenthesis is blank. And then here I'm referring to the total sales measure again. So I can use this here, press enter, and Power BI did not pick this up, so let me just try it here. Total sales, here we go, and get rid of that. So we simply check whether the total sales is not blank, and only if it's not blank, Then we would like to see the, here in this case, the same period last year calculation. And if that is not the case, then just make sure that I close the second parenthesis here. So like that. And if that is not the case, then on the other hand, I'd like to see nothing, and nothing simply means blank. I can close this here and then just watch what happens with these numbers here. So for the second part in here, I press enter and you'll see that now they are gone and it ends here in March. And the same is then true, of course, for the difference. So in here, the sales difference also ends, of course, in here, because blank minus blank, this will not happen. The only reason why there is still a value in here is because we have a value here for the total sales last year, the second measure. But just to show you this, if I would remove this, then we would end here in March 2022. And I will not do it now, but you see that for the total sales last year, number 2, for this one here, you could do exactly the same expression to get rid of this last month here, because we do not have any sales data in here. It's just this wrapper, like if not is blank, then the measure you're currently testing. And if that's not the case, then show it. And if that is the case, don't show anything. Don't show anything is referring to blank. So that is that. Okay. So the last thing I'd like to add here is the following, which is referring to my DAX calculations. Now I'm completely aware that the easier, or let's say the better formatted the expression we have is, the easier it is to learn and understand the formula. So especially if you have large formulas, I totally understand, and that's my own experience as well, it's much more difficult to understand. And to help us with that, there is actually one specific site which is called daxpattern.com. And I already opened it here in my browser, which is this one. You can play around with the theme, you can use the dark or the light one. But what this site actually does is you can paste any kind of DAX expression inside here, and it's doing the formatting for you, which is great. So let me show this to you. Let's actually go back to our report and use, for instance, our total sales last year expression. It is a little bit formatted because I entered a new line using Shift Enter, but still it does not look too good. So I can simply copy it, Control C to copy it. Then I go to the formatting page and I simply paste it here inside. And then I can click on Format and it will do its magic. Just a second. And here it is. And this already looks a little bit better regarding the format. And then I can simply copy it, press copy, and I go back to my report. And I simply override it by pressing Control V. And now you see I have formatted my formula. Let me press Enter in here. And now this is the formula you will see when you download the resource section and you would open this specific Power BI file. And let me do it for the other ones as well. So let me go in here, copy this, because even though this probably does not make too much because it's only a one-liner, but let's still try it. Let's go to here. Let me click on New. Let's paste this inside. Let's format this and let's take a look. And that's our formatting expression. Go to copy again. And then I go back to my report and I simply replace it. Paste here and I will press Enter. And the total sales last year, number 2, is also formatted correctly. So I'll do this for a few additional formulas and measures we have created, so you don't need to watch me doing this. But of course, if you open the report from the source section, as I said before, then you will see the formatted expressions in here. Okay? So that's it for this video. Hopefully that was helpful to get rid of the additional repeating, in this case, numbers or expressions, and also how to format the expressions using a simple tool like DAX Formatter, which is a great help because the better you format the expression, the easier it is for yourself, but also for your colleagues and other people who read what you have done and figure out what exactly the expression does. Okay, so that's it. Thanks a lot for watching and hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.